Welcome to the Life's Better podcast. This is our 50th episode of the Life's Better podcast, which we're just going to thank all of our 50 million fans who are tuning in every single month. Maybe not 50 million, maybe 50,000. That's probably where we're around. We're going to do something a little different with this episode. But before we get into that, Josh, when I brought this to your attention last week that we were at 50, do you remember what your reaction was?
My reaction was, I feel like we're a lot further than that. I didn't
we gotta
realize
be
it was
like,
only 50.
We got to have at least 100, right?
At least approaching that 100th episode.
We're just at 50. It might take a little while to get to 100, but we're glad that you guys have been tuning in. And if this is your first time, welcome. This is a podcast dedicated to the fact that life is so much better with God, community, and purpose. And today what we're going to be doing is we're going to go to the vault. We're going to go back to some previous episodes and highlight some things that we've really enjoyed. And so this is a clip show, guys. That's what this is.
It's actually great if this is your first time. You're getting kind of like a little ad of what we've done the last 50 episodes.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So if you have been watching, though, you probably noticed that, I would say most episodes, you and I will do some silly little game that kind of intros the main idea.
Absolutely. Jonathan always brings them as a, and I'm surprised because like most of them are not repeats. Like you
every
have
once
a
in
new
a while,
game.
every once in a while I'll throw in there, or it's like, yeah, it's different, but not really different. What we're gonna do first is just highlight. Both of us have maybe a favorite game segment that we've been able to participate in, and we're gonna start with that one.
Yeah.
One of my favorites, Josh, was when my wife was actually on the episode.
Yeah.
Where we were highlighting Kentucky Kids Belong. And the game that we did was exploring, really for Dane and I, we went down memory lane. We were going to be talking about fostering. We were going to talk about adoption.
Yeah.
And so we were like, hey, what were we like when we were kids? And so we looked at some of the fads of the 80s and 90s.
Yeah.
And it was fun for Dane and I, just like, those things. And then what made it fun was we always asked Josh, do you know about that trend? Do you know about that fad? And with the exception of like one and a half, Josh didn't know a single one.
No.
So what you're about to watch is a shortened version of that segment. Enjoy. All right, so the first question is, did you ever own a koosh ball?
Yes, those were so much fun.
Now, before you give any clues as to what that is, Josh, do you know what a koosh ball is?
No.
Second question. Did you ever get into hair crimping?
Oh.
Crimping your hair.
Does he need to?
Josh, do you know what hair crimping would be?
No.
All right. Did you own a pair of jelly shoes?
Yes. Do you know jelly shoes?
No.
Did you own a hypercolor shirt?
Oh, do you know those?
No.
There you have it. Okay, got another fashion question for you. This one I'm gonna have to spin a little bit different for Josh. But did you ever own a pair of overalls? Like, were you sporting the overall thing in the early 90s? Okay, now Josh, you obviously know what overalls are. However, in the early 90s, there were two ways that you could wear your overalls and still be cool. Are you familiar with what those two ways were?
One of them was one strap off, right?
Yes, got to have the one strap off.
And
There was one other way.
no.
But you would wear a belt and you would unstrap both and let that flap hang in front and in the back. Okay, last question. Did you ever try to avoid the Noid?
Josh looks confused.
Dana knows the reference. Do you know the reference?
No.
What is the Noid? Do you remember?
He was that little, I don't even know what he was. The little mascot, little creature guy for Domino's Pizza, right? No.
No, you're
Domino's,
right.
not Round Table. Yeah.
He looked kind of like a rabbit, but he wore a costume, so you never really knew what was going on inside, but he had rabbit ears, so he was some sort of rabbit. Gosh, now that we've replayed that,
Makes me feel a little bit young. I don't know.
I'm curious if, since that episode, you've heard some of those fads, like heard people talking about jelly shoes or avoiding the Noid or any of the things that we talked about. Did any of it come up and like, oh my gosh, that was on the podcast?
I forget who it was. The Noid thing, absolutely not. That's never come up since. I'm still convinced that might have been made up by you guys. But jelly shoes, I forget who it was, came up to me and had actually watched the podcast, and they were at our church. And who was it? It might have
They
been.
were like showing off their shoes.
It might have been Lisa.
Okay.
Lisa Kurtzinger.
Okay.
I think, and she was like, "How do you not know what jelly shoes are?" I'm like, I have no. I still like. I'm trying to remember back to that episode. I feel like I went back and like looked at a picture of them, and I still can't
like, no,
picture.
I don't
what-
know anything
yeah,
about this.
no,
Okay.
absolutely not.
Yeah. All right. So what was one of your favorite game
So
segments?
I cheated. I pulled 2 because I didn't want to play favorites or anything. But I really liked our Mother and Father's Day episode games.
Oh, yeah.
Which we like. The reason I liked them was not only because I realized I don't know as much about my parents as I thought I did, but on top of that, it was fun to just message your parents and get their answers. And I don't know. It was an interesting episode altogether, like talking about families, but. That game in particular was just cool because I got to know a little bit more about your family and you got to know a little bit more about mine.
Yeah.
And I, without even them being here, got to know more about my parents. And I was like, what? Why was that their memory of me? And so enjoy a little bit of both of those episodes.
So Josh, do you think you know your mom?
Knowing the questions, I don't know if I know my mom.
Okay.
I'm gonna try. Hopefully I do.
So-
I'm sorry if I don't.
So you've been in contact with my mom.
Mm-hmm.
I've been in contact with your mom. We know some answers.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see if it actually works that you know your mom. I know some answers. We'll find out.
Yeah. All right. Number 4.
Uh-huh.
Oh wait, I was about to read you her answer. Whoops.
That's not gonna
Number
help.
4. Growing up, what did you think you wanted to do for a living?
Yeah, I'm gonna lose a point on this one, I'm sure, but I think my answer is probably more accurate than whatever my mom put down.
Really? Okay.
And
You think you know your mom better than your mom knows herself?
so maybe.
Okay.
I think the answer is everything. So, and the reason why is, honestly, I can't tell you how many times like she has made some little comment or told some story about, oh, I wanted to do this, or oh, it would have been great if I did that. And then on top of that, when it came to even choosing a career for myself or my siblings, she was always throwing out like 101 ideas. Almost to the sense of like she wants to live vicariously through us because she's got all these plans and all these ideas and wouldn't it be great to do this and that and that. So I'm gonna go with everything. I'm sure I'm gonna lose a point on that one.
So she did not say everything, but she did say that she felt like she was meant to teach children.
Okay.
And she also said that when she was in junior high, she felt like God was calling her to be a missionary.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I don't get a point on that one. So that's cool.
Number 6, how many boyfriends did you have before meeting your husband? I know only about one, mainly because the story goes that my dad says it all the time, he threw it away to go date somebody else, and he showed up with flowers that day. And they started dating shortly after, like the day that
So the
she broke
day
up with him.
that your mom broke up with some dude, your dad showed up with flowers saying, rebound.
One, and I don't know about any other ones.
I don't know anything about the serious. All I know is the answer was 2.
2.
sorry, man.
Sorry, Mom.
Sorry.
Well, maybe I don't need to know about those.
So 2-1, you're beating me right now.
It's probably not going to last for long.
Nah, the lead will last, knowing some of these questions. Sorry, Dad.
What's your dad's favorite food? This one, if you don't get a point on it, I'm going to be really disappointed because your dad has 5 different answers.
Oh my gosh. So, okay.
Okay, what was your dad's first car and how old was he when he got it?
Okay. So I don't remember my dad telling me, this was my first car and everything, but I do remember a story.
I know he drove a Malibu at some point. I really don't know if that was his first vehicle, and I don't know how old he was. I'm going to go with 18 Malibu.
Okay, so I have no idea what the type of car a Malibu is.
Okay.
But he said a 1961 Ford. Is a Malibu a Ford?
I don't believe so.
Okay.
I'm not a car guy.
I'm not either.
All
But
the
he
men
was 18.
who... Okay.
He
well,
was 18, so you got the name. You got the.
He just said a Ford?
He said a 1961 Ford.
Well, that's not helpful, Dad. Ford makes a lot of cars. All right, well, I hope you guys enjoyed getting to know some of our parents' memories of us and us of them. One of the things that we have done, maybe not so consistently recently, but certainly in the beginning of our podcasting, we would consistently invite guests on and just kind of share how they've been walking with God, the community that they've been creating, and the purpose that they have in life because of it. What we're going to do is just highlight one of our favorite guests. Josh has one. I have one, and hopefully you guys will enjoy this as well. Definitely one of our favorites, both of our favorites, was when Justin Ross was able to visit. And Justin is a missionary with Sparrow Missions. He's actually the founder of Sparrow Missions, currently serving in Thailand. And one of the parts that I loved, well, really throughout his interview, was just his passion for God, his obedience to God, and then the work of God in his life because of it. And so the part of the episode that you're going to be watching now is when he's sharing how he and his wife adopted their 2 sons, and the obedience and the willingness to step into whatever God was calling him to, and then to see the miraculous, I think was just really touching for anyone who happened to see that episode. Here's Justin. Then I want to talk about family for a little bit. You've got 2 adopted children, twins, and then you've got the 11-day-old. When it comes to adoption and fostering, my wife, extended family, a lot of friends, they're huge advocates for fostering and adopting. I noticed that there seems to be 2 extremes when it comes to, getting involved with that. One, could never do it. God's not calling me to it. I can barely handle my own life, let alone someone else's life. And then the other extreme of, man, I'm going to get into this, and it's going to be wonderful, and it's going to be great, and they're going to fill me with so much love, and I'm going to fill them with so much love. I want to know what it is that really caused you to adopt, and what your experience was with maybe both of those extremes.
Yeah. Well, when people ask us about adoption, the first thing I think is it's as big of a step of faith as going on the mission field. And if you asked which one tested my faith more, the adoption process did. It took more faith to say, God, I put these kids in your hands. No matter what's going to happen, I put them in your hands more than I put this ministry and the future of this ministry in your hands. Because I can't explain it. Because in the way that we received our kids was from a judge in Honduras. It had been a very violent situation with their parents, with the birth mom, and the father was a violent gang member.
How old were they at the time?
They were 0. We got them from the hospital.
Wow.
And so they still don't know that exact story, nor do we. We don't know much about it. We don't know much about their past. But we do know that adoption like that in Honduras is really rare and really difficult. And we knew that going into it, we just had this peace. We're going to take these kids. God, they're in your hands. And now, when the tough part is when they get to be 3 and 4 years old, your mom and dad, they know nothing except you, and your lawyer calls you and says, "It doesn't look like it's going to happen."
Gee.
And you just feel like you're going to vomit. You're so that's when this faith side of it and your physical side, the earthly side, they just don't want to interact. They are gritting against each other. And your body can't really even respond to it. And so we just prayed. We just prayed, God, help us, Lord. Just crying out. And God continued to do it his way, and miraculously it happened. And so,
do you mind walking us through a little bit of how that happened?
Yeah, honestly, when we took the kids in, we had a judge that we get a call on the phone. I get a call on the phone. And it's a ministry friend who's from Honduras, and she says, "Do you know anyone who would take in twins? They're going to be abandoned. They're going to go into a government orphanage, which means you never get adopted. And it is a hard life. This is in the mountains of Honduras, in Copan." And I'm like, "Well, maybe me and my wife can take them. What do you think about?" And she said, "I said, call the lady back, see if she'll let an American couple take the kids and adopt them." This comes right back. Yes, she said yes. I was like, confirm with her that we're going to come and we're going to pick them up as soon as they're healthy enough. They were born at 3 pounds each. When they're healthy enough, when she's like, well, they may not live. I was like, well, I can't control that. Tell them, confirm with her that we're going to come get these kids. She said, yes, calls back. Okay, they're yours. Come get them in 3 days when they're out of the hospital. I'm like, Oh my gosh, I gotta call my wife. So I call my wife, Ashley.
So you committed to adopting these children before you spoke to your wife?
Yeah, I mean, the way you say it, it sounds bad. But if you knew my interactions with my wife and people who know me, it's actually not that shocking. Okay. And so I call Ash. She's teaching school and she's in between periods. And I'm like, Ash, what do you think about adopting twins? And she's like, is it a boy or a girl? 2 boys. I'm like, I don't know. Does it matter? And she's like, just tell him yes. I got to go to class. She's focused. And so we drive up there. The judge calls the police. When we arrive to the hospital, we get pulled in front of this judge because they think we're trying to buy him, like human trafficking situation. We're like, no, we're actually in ministry. We've never applied for adoptions. We're just here because we feel like it's the right thing to do. And over the next 4 days, we kind of get interrogated by her over and over again. And the last day, our lawyer who had come to meet us says, well, I don't think it's going to happen, but it'll be a miracle if it does. Kind of flippantly, kind of sarcastically. And Ashley goes, I'm going to remember you said that. Like, it's going to be a miracle. You don't talk to my wife.
Right.
It's going to be a miracle. She leaves. The next morning, we go into the judge's office again, and she goes, I'm going to make sure these babies are yours. I'm going to make sure you adopt them. And I really believe that God's done this. And we're like, something changed.
Josh, I know that was one of your favorites.
Absolutely.
I'm super curious as to who's going to outdo Justin. Who was one of your favorites?
Yeah, so this one was like even maybe a little bit emotional to go back and watch. But I picked Alan, who is the, I would say, founder of Camp Calvary.
Alan
right?
Cooper may not have founded the camp, but he
like,
certainly established it for what it is today.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And he came on about 2 years before he actually passed away and talked about ministry at the camp, his passion behind that. And my clip is going to be a little section where I ask him about, how have you in ministry not only attached yourself to and had the endurance to go through 33 years, is what he had said at that point, of ministry, but also how you've decided to stay in one place, because that's 33 years in the same place. And his answer was just awesome, and I'll let you guys watch that.
It's the 33rd year for Camp Calvary with you as manager. So what continues, and as a person who's in ministry, I see that and I think, that's older than I am now. And I think that I've been doing this long time and it's only been 5 years. Clearly there's something there that you've not just said, I'm full-time ministry, but 33 years at the same place means that you feel really, really called there. What is it about in those 33 years that's really kept you passionately pursuing camp ministry?
It's all I want to do. I'm not able to do the things that I used to be able to do because of a few health issues, but there's nothing else. I enjoy going on vacation with family. I enjoy getting away and getting a break and getting away from things, but I'm always eager to get back and get started and doing the things. When you can see the effect of the hand of God on the things that you're touching on a daily basis, I mean, I don't know what else you could ask for. And it's just an honor to know that God could use somebody like me to do the things that he's done through camp. That's, what else could you ask for?
Sure. Well, I think Alan's definitely an individual who has a deep connection with God, has discovered his community and the purpose that really God called him to when it came to camp ministry, not wanting to do anything else. And so although Alan is now with the Lord, certainly his legacy lives on with all the campers that have been able just to grow in Christ because of him.
Yeah.
Well, one of the things we always do is, we try. Sometimes we probably, maybe skip this one a little bit more, but we always try to provide really valuable content that we think would help you in deepening your relationship with God, really forming deeper, richer community and finding purpose. And so that's kind of our content. We do a lot of fluff stuff just for fun, but we're now looking at one of the things that we enjoyed the most when it came to sharing content with you that we thought was valuable. Now, for me, I'm going to last year where it was around Thanksgiving time, so we made a special emphasis on Thanksgiving,
Yeah.
how to be thankful, how to be grateful, and we came up with some creative ideas that maybe some people haven't really thought through so that they can build just a sense of Thanksgiving in their own hearts. And so I came up with one that I thought would be, fun and silly and yeah, this would be enjoyable. Little did I know that Josh was just going to hate it so much to the point where he almost puked. If you missed that episode, well, guess what you missed? Here it is. I talk to people about gratitude. It's one of those things that I try to emphasize, like, hey, this needs to be a part of your life. And I typically get one of two responses. Either it's the, you know what, that needs to be a part of my life. I haven't really thought about making that a regular rhythm of each and every day. Or it's the, yeah, I tried that. I used to watch Oprah in the 90s and yeah, we're supposed to be grateful. It didn't do it for me. It's overhyped. And if you're in that second category and you're kind of rolling your eyes and like, oh, gratitude, yeah, here we go again. Here's the thing, you're probably doing it wrong. Like, honestly, if this was something that you thought, I was hoping for more and didn't deliver, you're probably doing it wrong. So we're gonna share some ways that maybe you can do it right. And so I'm gonna start first, and I'm gonna share the first exercise, which is the can of beans gratitude exercise.
I'm so excited to learn
Can
what
of
this
beans.
is.
So I did not come up with this. I read about it by a guy by the name of Seth Fortin Pinnock actually came up with it. And all you need is a can of beans, which I happen to have right here, a can of beans and a spoon, as well as a can opener, unless you've got one of these cool little top things that just will pop it right off.
Yeah.
And then you decide one meal out of the week. And this is not an ongoing, you don't do it every single week, but definitely try at least once, where you say, okay, one meal, I'm going to open up that can of beans and that's going to be my meal. You don't get a special bowl that you're going to pour the beans in. You cannot heat it up in the microwave or on the stove. It is just you, the can of beans, and a spoon. I've got 2 spoons here. One spoon is for you, Josh, because we are actually going to participate in this.
Oh no.
But while you're eating the beans, what you need to do is just pause, and you can maybe a fun way to do this would be just to imagine that you're by a campfire, maybe in Yosemite, and try to think as many things that you can be grateful for. We're going to participate this in just a moment, but think about, okay, the texture, it might be nice. I don't know. We're going to find out. The taste might be far more delicious than you thought. You may go a different direction, and you might start to think, okay, think about all the different people that had to be a part of making this can of beans. I mean, this is where my mind immediately goes. I think, okay, just the metal alone had to be mined, maybe recycled. The factories had to lay that metal out and create a can. You think about the farmers who had to actually plant, harvest, deliver it to some factory where they cooked the beans and eventually just showed up in your pantry, right? There's hundreds and hundreds of people's hands that went into this, let alone the paper that went into the label and the ink. I mean, there's just so much. Or you can go a different direction and you can just realize, okay, this is awful. But the cool thing is tomorrow when I have breakfast, I will have far more variety in my diet. And you get to have that variety every single day. I mean, food shipped in from all around the world. And so it's just a way to be grateful. Josh, you ready for this, man?
Yeah, that's the only place my mind went, was the negative side of gratitude of, oh my gosh, I'm thankful I don't have to eat this normally. Oh gosh, that looks disgusting.
Josh, do you not like beans?
No. I like
Okay.
refried beans are okay.
This is just... And if you're wanting to know, like, okay, wait, where can I get those wonderful?
Gosh.
This is Kroger's Great Northern White Beans. So let me get my spoon.
This might be the worst thing Jonathan's ever made me do.
You know what? This is a gratitude exercise, Josh. All right, here we go.
I'm thankful for all the things that Jonathan has made me do besides this.
No, I gotta say that's pretty good. That is far better than I thought it was gonna be.
It's not bad.
Clearly, they've added sodium because I could eat this can of beans and really enjoy it. Josh, you're not feeling it?
No.
Really? You know what? I'm gonna go for a second spoonful. Who needs lunch, right? This is wonderful. And at the end of your time of experiencing this wonderful, tasty meal, I would encourage you to maybe even share your gratitude with God, who provides you food every single day with a lot of variety, and maybe, at least in Josh's case, better tasting food than our wonderful Great Northern white beans. All right, that's the first gratitude exercise. Clearly lost on Josh completely.
So sorry.
So for those of you who may not have had conversations with us after, it was kind of funny because when we were done done recording that, Josh admitted that when he was eating it, there was this active suppression of his gag reflex.
Yes.
And so if you're watching this on YouTube, you can probably pause the moments where there's just, I'm gonna power through this, but everything in me wants to gag right now. Had I known that you had such a hatred for beans, I don't think I would have done that to you. But it's still kind of fun, and that was one of my favorites. For those of you who this is your second time,
I felt so bad because I ruined. You were like, like what went into putting these beans together? You can be thankful, and I'm just over here like
gagging.
Like I'm so thankful that I don't have to eat these after it's over.
Which was part of the exercise. So I think it ended up working out. All right, Josh, last clip here.
All right, I'm gonna cheat again. I did the Father's Day, both from 2 different clips, but I'm making it hard on myself because I'm editing this, so like I'm not gonna apologize for it. But this is even a bigger cheat because it's not technically from a podcast episode.
Okay. Now,
if I have to pick a podcast episode, I will say one of my favorites was our discussion on sarcasm and me having to just admit that this is a struggle for me. Like I absolutely use sarcasm in everyday life. And then also our conversation with Joanna afterward being like, I think it's in the Bible. I think God does it.
Right.
Like she's fine with it. And so we had to I don't know, the next podcast be like, maybe it's okay sometimes. I don't know. But the one that I'm picking and the one that I have clips for is actually something I stumbled across and almost forgot existed. But it's why we started the podcast originally. And if you don't know, or one of the reasons we started the podcast is because during COVID, we were trying to think of creative ways to still keep in contact with our church, keep in contact with and still have moments of teaching and fellowship. And every day,
yeah, every day,
we did a lunchtime with Jonathan and Josh.
Yeah.
And it's a little cringy at times, like going back and being like, this was our setup, like this was bad. Yeah. But at the same time, it was really fun just knowing that like we decided, we're not going to just continue this with the status quo because we want to protect people. But at the same time, we're not going to give up trying to teach, trying to do things, trying to encourage you guys. And we made this commitment that was huge. Looking back on it now, it's like, wow, we did that every day. But at the same time, it produced some pretty funny and also really, really good moments that I hope encourage you guys, for those of you that have been with us since the beginning, and produced the podcast after that. We were like, well, we're not done doing this.
Let's keep doing it.
Check it out.
Welcome to our lunch break events that we're going to be doing all week long, Monday through Friday. This is Josh. I'm sure you know Josh. Today, what we want to do is just kind of launch this, see if there's much interaction with it. But really, the hope is that as a church, we are continuing, even in these unprecedented times, we're continuing to help people discover God's love, community with each other, and a purposeful life. And what is it that we're living out? Well, it's actually living out faith, hope, and love. And the greatest of those, we know, is love.
Thank you, God, for this wonderful day. And I know with that we're all in quarantine, and that can be pretty scary. And we can live with the glass half empty, and we can live it with the glass half full. And you always got to remember what God has done for you.
Over the last few weeks, in particular, time and time again, we just see you as a church coming through sacrificially. Time and time again, serving one another. Last night, I was hanging out with our life group, not physically, but online. And I saw this. This was actually small enough that I could put in my lunch pail today and bring it. This is a giraffe that was actually hand carved in Swaziland. And so we bought this in Swaziland, doing ministry in Swaziland. So it's always got a little bit of special purpose and meaning because it reminds us of ministry there. This is
Berkeley.
Owen.
Travis.
and we're so glad that you are joining us today. We wanted to let you know that tomorrow is the last lunch break segment that we'll be doing. I know some of you are like, what? I can't believe it. How can I live without this? Well, we have done actually 44. Today was the 44th episode of Lunch Break. Tomorrow is 45, and the whole purpose that we had behind this was to remain connected and to help us grow in the time of quarantine. And as those restrictions are being lifted, we want to go ahead and move our attention to other things that can continue to allow us to be the church for our community. Now, with that, we're going to be letting you know that although next week we're going to be taking off completely, we're going to be reintroducing some content that you can still enjoy online. We haven't quite figured out exactly what that's going to be, but we're excited to let you know when we figure it all out. Well, hopefully you guys can tell that technology has improved just a little bit, and maybe that's about it. Maybe we're pretty much the same. But hopefully you enjoyed that. Again, thanks for making the last 50 episodes something that's probably a part of your rhythm. And if it's new, we would encourage you to keep tuning in, because like we've always said, life is so much better with God, community, and purpose. And that's what we focus on in this podcast.
Yeah. Here's to another 50, right?
There we go. 50, here we come.